She was never pregnant at all. Instead, the videos embolden conspiracy theorists. They're calling it Megspiracy, and the pair are being subjected to yet more merciless ridicule.
Case about whether you think the birth was real, whether you think there was a surrogate, whether you think Meghan was wearing a moon bump. The fact is, Harry and Meghan lied. Buckingham Palace lied on their behalf. There was a complete cover-up over the birth of...
Piers Morgan is fired up right now, and this time, he's not the only one stepping in. Word is, even senior palace insiders are quietly backing his stance, which makes this whole situation feel way bigger than just media noise. Sources from both sides of the Atlantic are dropping updates at the same time, and people are starting to notice something serious might be unfolding behind those Buckingham Palace doors. And the wild part? Nobody's really talking about it out loud. No loud headlines, no messy press drama. Just a low-key, calculated investigation moving in silence. It's all happening behind the scenes, tight and controlled, like every move is planned down to the last detail.
His Netflix series, released to the world this morning, is packed with, well, not really revelations, are they? It's sort of rehashed old revelations with a new twist. As it turns out, we've apparently been wrong all along. Britain is a nasty, racist hellhole where only magnificent Meghan stood up to all this, and the world's biggest victim.
Now, here's where it really takes a turn. The spotlight isn't even on Harry or Meghan this time. The chatter is shifting toward Archie and Lilibet, their official records, their titles, and exactly where they stand in the royal line. And people are definitely paying attention because the whispers going around, they've got everyone raising an eyebrow. Reports are now claiming investigators have been digging into missing signatures, raising questions about a birth certificate, and even pointing to a christening that allegedly has no formal church record on file. If even a small piece of that turns out to be accurate, it could explain why Meghan Markle is rumored to be feeling serious pressure inside that Montecito home right now, with everything closing in at once. Stay locked in, because every part of this situation ties right back to what Piers Morgan has been saying loudly for months now. He keeps circling back to one question that a lot of major outlets seem to sidestep, and it's hitting harder each time it comes up. He's basically asking if Harry and Meghan are still using their Sussex titles in deals, business moves, and partnerships, while also presenting themselves as critics of that same royal system. How does that even make sense? So what's really, happening behind all this? Piers Morgan isn't backing down one bit.
A lot of the royal watchers were complaining that they felt like her posts on social media where she barely shows the kids is almost taunting the king, who doesn't know these children, and how unfair this.
He's calling it straight up hypocrisy, and not in a small way either, but on a massive level. According to him, those royal titles are stamped on everything. Every public statement, every Netflix deal, every brand launch connected to their name, and people are starting to look at it a whole lot closer. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex isn't just some formal title. It's the whole brand, the image, the product being pushed out to the world. And now, the spotlight is reportedly shifting to the next generation in a big way. Prince Archie, Princess Lilibet, more titles, more attention, more perceived value building around their names, and people are starting to notice the pattern. Piers Morgan didn't hold back on this at all. He called it exactly how he sees it, a cash-driven strategy, and when he said that, it hit hard with a lot of listeners right away. You could feel the reaction, because that kind of claim carries serious weight when it's put out there so directly. But here's why he's turned the volume all the way up now. This situation isn't just about Harry and Meghan anymore. It's about what those titles could mean for Archie and Lilibet moving forward, and that's where things start escalating fast. The conversation shifts quickly when it involves the next generation, and suddenly, the stakes feel a whole lot higher. Think back to that Oprah interview, the one Morgan has repeatedly described as deeply damaging to the royal family. During that moment, Meghan said Archie hadn't been given a royal title and suggested it was tied to concerns about skin color,
They kept telling the world how ghastly the monarchy is. It's a prison camp. All the royals want to get away from it, but they can't because they're trapped in the world of titles and privilege. And now they want to give their kids the titles of prince and princess, even though they don't live anywhere near the royal family. They don't do any duties. They do nothing to deserve it. They live in a mansion in Montecito in California.
Which sparked a massive global reaction instantly. Morgan pushed back hard, arguing that long-standing royal rules, going all the way back to King George V, apply the same way to everyone under that system. No exceptions. Great-grandchildren of a monarch are not automatically given prince or princess titles. That's how the royal framework has worked for years. Under those rules, Archie wasn't being singled out at all. It was simply about timing and how the system is structured. But Piers Morgan came in strong, labeling that claim as false and pointing out that it was broadcast to millions, while the royal family stayed completely silent in public. And now here's why all of this is coming back into focus again. That same claim is being pulled right back into the spotlight as questions reportedly grow around how these titles were assigned and why the palace might now be taking a much closer look at the children's official status from the ground up. Once something like this gets tied into a global narrative about racism, everything connected to it gets put under intense scrutiny. At that point, the palace is almost pushed into a corner. They have to go back and review every single document tied to those children, piece by piece, no shortcuts. And reports are claiming that what's being uncovered is raising serious concern among insiders, which is making the situation feel even more intense. Now things are starting to move quickly. Piers Morgan isn't the only one pushing this conversation anymore. Breaking reports out of the United States, including News Nation, are now echoing what royal watchers have been quietly discussing for weeks, and it's getting harder to ignore. Prince William is reportedly getting ready to make a major move, one that could strip Harry and Meghan of their royal titles completely. And according to multiple senior sources, this is no longer an if situation. It's all about timing now, and when it finally drops, it could hit hard. But it doesn't stop there, because current reports claim the discussion may also include Archie and Lilibet, which takes this to a whole new level. All four names are said to be on the table, and that's what's making people pay close attention right now. Piers Morgan has been sounding off about this exact scenario for months, and now it's starting to line up with what insiders are hinting at. He's even been drawing comparisons to Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson, two figures who've faced heavy criticism for holding on to royal status while dealing with ongoing controversy, and that comparison is raising eyebrows. According to Morgan, those situations highlight what can happen when the royal brand is used heavily without the responsibilities that are supposed to come with it. And here's the key point he keeps pushing. It all comes down to sustainability. He argues that the opportunities once surrounding Harry and Meghan don't look as strong as they used to. Deals appear to be shifting, projects have changed direction, and the overall landscape around them feels very different now. From that angle, a couple still closely tied to royal branding while operating independently starts to look like a complicated situation for the institution. That's why this reported approach from William is being framed as something bigger than personal conflict. By potentially applying changes across the board, even mentioning figures like Beatrice and Eugenie,
Harry and Meghan, it's a bit like criticising the police force. I often criticise the Met Police. My uncle was a commissioner in the Met Police. Doesn't mean that I don't believe in having a police force. You can criticise the monarchy and say, here are the fault lines, and do it clumsily.
But why would they want to inflict on their children royal titles that make them part of the royal family worldwide and expose them to the misery and pain and trauma which Harry tells us he suffers on an hourly basis, normally for large checks? But
it starts to look like a wider reset could be on the table. And that's what's really turning heads. This is now being framed as a structural move, not just something aimed at specific people, and that's the core point Piers Morgan keeps repeating again and again. His argument is simple but sharp. If someone isn't a full-time working royal, then why keep the royal title at all? That question is being pushed harder than ever right now, and it's starting to stick in public debate. Zara Tindall keeps getting mentioned as the example. No title, but still respected, successful, and moving freely without the royal label attached. Now, that same question is being pointed toward Archie and Lilibet, children growing up in California, far away from official royal duties or any daily involvement with the institution. But here's the part grabbing major attention. Reports claim Meghan is signaling she's ready to fight this, even legally if it comes to that, and would not accept any move to remove those titles without pushing back hard. Piers Morgan's response to that idea is direct and unapologetic. He's questioning what court would even take on something like this. Titles connected to the monarchy come from the crown, and the crown ultimately controls them. There's no clear legal route in the United States or the United Kingdom where a judge could just step in and overturn that kind of decision. From his point of view, the idea of a legal battle doesn't match how the system actually works, and that take is sparking even more heated debate. And now things take another serious turn, beyond the title arguments, beyond claims of hypocrisy, and beyond any talk of legal threats. There's a deeper development starting to surface. According to circulating reports, senior advisors at Buckingham Palace have quietly initiated what's being described as an internal verification review, focused directly on Archie and Lilibet, their birth records, official documentation, and how their status is formally recognized in relation to the British Crown. And that's where the tension really starts to build. Piers Morgan is being very direct about what he thinks this all points to. In his view, the palace doesn't move like this unless there's a serious reason behind it. The monarchy, more than anything, tries to avoid uncertainty at all costs because questions around lineage strike right at the core of how the entire institution is built. And according to current reports, those kinds of questions are no longer being brushed aside or quietly ignored. It all starts with Archie's birth certificate, a document that carries real weight when it comes to identity and position in the line of succession. These records are expected to be clear, consistent, and locked in permanently. But reports claim changes were made months after the original filing, and that's what's raising eyebrows now. Meghan's full legal name, Rachel Meghan Markle, was reportedly removed and replaced with her royal title, Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. No first name, no surname, just the title standing alone. Morgan is pointing out what many people immediately noticed. Moves like that are extremely unusual within royal administrative systems, and they don't just happen without a reason. Edits like this don't appear out of nowhere. Someone has to request it, someone has to approve it, and someone has to officially log that change into the system. But when questions started coming in about why it happened, the explanations reportedly didn't match up. One side suggested the palace made the call, while others claimed it came from Meghan's team. No single clear version, no clean paper trail, just conflicting accounts and a revised document that's now under scrutiny. Then there's the birth announcement itself, which is also getting heavy attention. Traditionally, royal births follow a strict and verified process, including confirmation from named medical professionals and an official palace statement. But with Archie, reports suggest that process looked noticeably different, and that difference is exactly what's keeping this conversation going. The public timeline itself caused confusion, with announcements not lining up the way people expected and key details not being clarified right away. And there's one detail that keeps popping up again and again. Unlike the royal birth announcements for George, Charlotte, and Louis, this one reportedly didn't include the signatures of the attending doctors. And that's what's catching serious attention now. Piers Morgan has hammered this point repeatedly. Those signatures aren't just for show, they're part of how royal births are formally verified. and officially recorded. That's exactly why this missing detail is being looked at so closely, and why people aren't just brushing it off. According to Morgan, the absence of key verification steps isn't something that can simply be explained away as privacy anymore.
How does it get there, Omid? Surely you as the author, I mean, you must be furious, right? You must be demanding. Heads roll. And you want names, don't you, ironically? Omid, about who did this to you? Who besmirched your reputation as an author? I would, Omid. I'd want to know right now, especially if I was trying to convince the world that I had nothing to do with it myself.
And that's where the pressure starts building fast. Now, the focus reportedly shifts heavily toward Lilibet. She was born in California, with everything handled through Harry and Meghan's personal team. No involvement from British royal doctors, no official palace bulletin, and none of the traditional presentation steps usually seen in royal births. For a celebrity family, that might seem completely normal. But for a child connected to the British line of succession, it represents a major break from long-established royal protocol, and that's exactly what palace advisors are now said to be examining very closely. Then comes the detail raising the most concern right now. When advisors reportedly looked into Church of England records connected to Lilibet's christening in California, claims suggest they couldn't find any official entry, no registry listing, no confirmation tied to a bishop, and no formal acknowledgement linked to the Archbishop's office. And on this point, Morgan is standing firm, making it clear he believes this detail cannot be ignored. A royal christening isn't just symbolic or done for photos. It actually plays a formal role in linking a royal child to the Church of England, which has deep historical ties to the crown. Without that official record in place, questions are now being raised about how complete that connection really is from a formal standpoint. And that's why, behind the scenes, the tone around the situation is said to be far more serious than what's being shown publicly. Piers Morgan has been pushing this point harder and harder. In his view, Meghan's entire public image right now, the lifestyle branding, the media deals, the carefully controlled spotlight, all rests on one key factor: that connection to the British crown. Take away that royal link through the children, and suddenly that image doesn't look as solid as it once did. Remove the titles completely, and Morgan argues the whole structure starts to weaken fast. He puts it in very blunt terms. Without Sussex attached to every statement, every deal, every public appearance, Harry and Meghan would simply be seen as a couple who stepped away from the royal family and then openly criticized it while building business ventures on the outside. From that angle, he suggests it's not as powerful of a brand as it seems at first glance. Instead, it becomes something people start to question more closely, especially as more details continue to surface. And when it comes to Harry, Morgan highlights something he believes often gets overlooked. There's a growing view that Harry expected something very different from how all of this would actually play out. There's been this idea that his children's royal status would stay secure no matter where they live, even while building a life in California. The expectation was that their connection to the monarchy would remain untouched, permanent, and locked in no matter what changed around them. But now, reports suggest that assumption may be running straight into reality. Claims are circulating that Harry has been trying to reach out to senior royals, but hasn't received much response so far. And when it comes to decisions tied to constitutional matters, the process is said to move forward regardless of personal feelings, which makes the situation feel even more serious. Piers Morgan isn't holding back when it comes to King Charles either. He argues there were multiple moments where stronger action could have been taken, but from his perspective, those opportunities passed without any decisive move being made. Each time this topic came up, Morgan repeated the same warning: delay only. Makes the situation bigger, and now that bigger problem has finally arrived in full force. And according to him, it's now landing directly in Prince William's hands. Morgan makes it clear he sees William as the one who will handle it, because he's been watching everything unfold step by step and understands exactly what's at stake. The key difference, in Morgan's view, is that William won't approach this with emotion. He'll approach it with precision, and that's what could change everything fast. He's expected to focus on protecting the institution first, especially with George, Charlotte, and Louis set to step into major roles tied to the future of the monarchy. That long-term picture is what makes the situation feel even more intense right now, because every decision could shape what comes next in a big way. So, where does all of this go from here? Reports following the palace review suggest there are 3 possible paths being discussed behind closed doors. The first is a quiet freeze. Titles technically stay in place, but they stop being actively used or recognized, slowly fading out of relevance over time without any big public moment. The second option is a quiet reclassification. No dramatic announcement, no headline shock, just a gradual removal from official listings, positioning them fully as private individuals outside the royal structure. It's subtle, controlled, and keeps everything low-key while still making a clear shift. And then there's the third option, the one Piers Morgan believes is now seriously on the table: formal removal. If that step actually happens, the impact would be immediate and impossible to ignore. This would send a loud message across the entire royal system. Titles are not permanent, and they are definitely not guaranteed. Morgan has been stressing this point nonstop. In his view, once the palace draws that line, there's no going back. No gray area, no special exceptions. Because at that point, it's no longer just about Harry and Meghan. It becomes a reset of expectations for everyone connected to the monarchy, past, present, and future. And that's what makes this moment feel so big. Think about what that really means. Every deal, every public appearance, every brand built around royal identity would instantly feel different the moment those titles are gone. That shift wouldn't be small. It would be immediate, visible, and impossible to ignore. And this is where the pressure really starts to build. If the palace actually follows through, it forces a complete reset in how Harry and Meghan present themselves to the world. No more royal shorthand, no more automatic link to the crown. Everything would have to stand on its own from that point forward. Piers Morgan's argument stays simple but sharp. Strip away the titles, and whatever remains has to prove its value without leaning on that royal connection. And right now, all eyes are locked on what happens next, because the outcome of this review could reshape the boundaries of the monarchy in a way we haven't seen in years. If the review cannot confirm that royal birth protocols and lineage standards were properly followed, then the crown has the authority to act completely and without hesitation. No chaos, no emotion, just the institution doing exactly what it was built to do: protect its structure and secure its future. Piers Morgan's stance hasn't changed, but now it's carrying more weight than ever, and people are paying very close attention. In his view, one rule stands above everything else: the crown endures, individuals do not. Harry and Meghan may have built a strong image around that royal connection, but at the end of the day, the palace still holds the final word. And if it really comes down to it, one decision, one signature from King William could completely rewrite everything they've built over the years in California. Now, this is where it gets real. What happens next? What could reshape how the monarchy operates for years to come? And people everywhere are watching this closely as it unfolds. The pressure, the timing, the decisions, it's all building towards something big, and nobody knows exactly how it's going to land. So what do you think should happen? Should the palace put everything out in the open, or keep it handled quietly behind closed doors? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. And if you want more deep breakdowns like this, make sure you like, subscribe, share, and comment, because this story is far from over.